Hey, good morning or good afternoon. It's not even morning anymore. It is afternoon. I pray that y'all are having a fantastic day. Y'all come on in here. I am going to give y'all some time to get situated, to get on, to join me, and then we're going to get started. Okay? Let me make sure everything looks good on my end. And while we're waiting, let me play some music. How about that? There we go. Okay, so there's definitely a delay. Okay, that's one thing I have figured out. So, it is what it is, right? But y'all, I just want to welcome you to the first episode of my new leadership series, The One. The One. I have been hearing this in my spirit for such a long time. So I don't know about y'all, but I am super excited about the one. Okay. I want you all to do a couple of things before we get started. I want you to share this video, this stream on your timeline. Okay. Share it. Hello, Mr. Jordan. How are you? Thank you for joining me. Um, Please share this on your timeline, tag some people, let people know that they have to be here to see this. They have to get on this. So grab your lunch, y'all, get situated and hang out with me. Okay. So share it, tag some people. You can copy the stream link as well and send it in a text message if you'd like. Okay, but let people know, hey, you gotta get in on this because we are talking about the one. Why the one? Because as leaders, y'all, we have to be willing to do it for one. For one. And I shared this in my introduction video. If you didn't get a chance to see it, go check it out on my social media platforms. But I talked about the fact that John the Baptist, the whole reason he started his ministry was to identify the one so that he could reveal who the Messiah was to Israel. And imagine everything else that goes along with that, all the challenges and everything that he faced. But he was willing to do it for the one. Are you willing to do it for the one? Are you willing to lead the one? And so today we're talking about be the one, be the one, y'all. And I know that as leaders, there's so much we have to deal with, so many different personalities and challenges and attitudes and circumstances. And it just sometimes seems overwhelming, like it's just ongoing, that there's never a break. But you know what? You're built for it. You're built for it. You are called to it. And I just wanted to take a moment to encourage you all on your leadership journey. I was going to say this morning, this day, um, talking about being the one, be the one. Okay, so we're talking about David and Goliath today. And I love this story, a true story. Okay. Always want to add that. We're not just talking about a story, we're talking about a true story here of a great leader. But it was before he became King David, but he's facing one of the biggest battles of his life, right? But let's dig in. I'm in First Samuel chapter 17, starting with verse 32. Okay, and let me get the microphone over here to make sure you can hear me good because I'm gonna be like this. Okay. So he said he's arrived to the battle, and the first thing David realizes is that y'all got a problem. Okay, he's like, y'all got a problem. Y'all got this giant that's calling y'all out. They have been, you know, trashing our armies, trashing our people. Like, enough is enough already. And have you ever been the one to say, enough is enough? There's a problem and we have to deal with this. So that's where David finds himself. And he says to King Saul, he says, don't worry about this Philistine. I'll go fight him. And Saul said, don't be ridiculous. There's no way you can fight this Philistine and possibly win. You're only a boy, and he's been a man of war since his youth, meaning a warrior. And how many times have you said, you know what? I can take care of this. I can handle this. And people, your leaders, your superiors, your directors have been like, but are you really the one? I mean, I looked at your resume. I kind of know what you've done. Are you really the one to lead this initiative? Are you really the one to lead this project? Are you really the one to revamp this organization? But don't doubt us. But David persisted. He said, I've been taking care of my father's sheep and goats, he said. When a lion or a bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. If the animal turns on me, I catch it by the jaw and club it to death. I have done this to both lions and bears. I'll do it to this pagan Philistine too, for he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine. And listen, I love how he's like, I know you think you know me. I know you think you know me. But let me tell you what my resume doesn't tell you. Okay? How I overcame these battles, how I pushed these initiatives forward, how I was able to make a difference. See, you see numbers, you see, lines on my resume, you see positions listed, but let me tell you a little bit more what I was able to achieve. And sometimes we have to do that, right? Sometimes we have to stop and say, people, let me fill in the gaps for you. let me put some narrative behind some of the things that I've done in the past that may not be highlighted on my resume. I can handle this. And so Saul finally consented. He said, all right, go ahead, he said, and may the Lord be with you. Then Saul gave David his armor, a bronze helmet and a coat of mail. David put it on, strapped the sword over it, and took a step or two to see what it was like, for he had never worn such things before. I liken that to leaders who mean well, right? They're saying, hey, this is how we've always done it. Here's a layout. Here's protocol. Here's the procedures. Here's some data that's gonna, clue you in on the kind of people you're gonna working with, the kind of people you're gonna be serving. But this is what's been done. This is what works. This is how we do it. But this is what happens. David says, I can't go in these, he protested to Saul. I'm not used to them. So David took them off again. He picked up 5 smooth stones from a stream and put them into his shepherd's bag. Then, armed with only his shepherd's staff and sling, he started across the valley to fight the Philistine. Y'all, what did David do? He used what he had. He used what he was used to. And then I'm not saying that there are not going to be times when the ways of doing the protocols and procedures that people are kind of handing to you won't be a great starting point. But you're equipped. Okay? It might not be with the fancy technology and software and the network that people have, but don't forget the wonderful things that you've already done. Don't forget those things. I love the fact that David equipped himself with the things that he had already won with.
the things that he had already won with. Leaders, what has God equipped you with that you have already won with? That you have already been victorious with? That you have already met the goals with that people didn't think you really could meet? That the way that you've impacted customers in your communities with, in the way that people didn't think you could? What have you already won with? Think about that. And then dig into those skill sets, dig into those strengths that you have, that knowledge, and use that for the very challenge that's before you now. It's not an accident that you're watching this. It's not an accident that you're listening, that you're tuning in. I'm telling you, you are already equipped because you've already won. You've already had victories. Start there. Start there. And then it says Goliath walked out toward David. He should have walked away, okay, but he didn't. It says Goliath walked out toward David with his shield bearer ahead of him, sneering and contempt at his ruddy-faced boy. Am I a dog? He roared at David, that you come at me with a stick? And he cursed David by the names of his gods. Come over here, and I will give your flesh to the birds and wild animals, Goliath yelled. But David replied, he said to the Philistine, you come to me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's army, Jehovah Sabaoth. Woo, yes. The God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today the Lord will conquer you, and I will kill you and cut off your head. And then I'm going to give your dead bodies to your men, to the birds and wild animals. And the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. What was David doing? He was prophesying. He was prophesying what was going to happen. He was speaking what was going to happen. He was declaring what was going to happen. And that's what we have to do. No matter what situation you're facing, I don't care how bleak, prophesy over that thing. Prophesy over your team. Prophesy over your organization. Prophesy over people and situations that are trying to rise up against you and say, oh, not here. Not here. Not today. Not in this department, not on this team, not in this organization, not in this community, not here. It won't happen, not on my watch. That's the kind of audacious positivity. That's what prophecy is, okay? Audacious positivity of what is to come. Be bold about it. And then he said, and everyone assembled here will know, right, that the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle, and he will give you to us. Don't you know that God wants to look good in how he's working in your leadership? God cares. God cares about your leadership. He cares about your organization. He cares about your business. He cares. God wants to show himself mighty and strong. But my question to you is, have you invited him in? Have you said, God, this is yours? This is your business, your project, your initiative. God, show yourself mighty and strong. Let people know that you are my God. And you're my God who is in control. You're my God who cares. You're my God who made this happen. Invite God into your situation because it's his. And if it's not his, walk away. Okay? If it's not his, what are you doing? What are you doing? If it's not his business, if it's not his initiative, if it's not his project, if it's not the thing that he's led you to, he's called you to, why are you going through all the trouble? Okay? But if it's his battle, know that you're going to be victorious. Know that. And it says, as Goliath moved closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him. Quickly. He reached into his shepherd's bag again, the things that he had already won with, okay? And taking out a stone, he hurled it with his sling and hit the Philistine in his forehead. The stone sank in, and Goliath stumbled and fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine. Ooh, over competitors coming for his market. Over team members who really aren't invested. Okay, over leaders who don't see your value and are really trying to sabotage your growth. Yeah, he was victorious over that. And it says, then David ran over and pulled Goliath's sword from the sheath. David used it to kill him and to cut off his head. His own weapon, David used against him. Isn't that how God works, right? The very things that people have tried to use against you and to come up against you with are the very things that God uses to elevate you. Oh gosh, how many times has that happened in my life? You know, where people are like, we're going to give you the worst office, the worst space, the worst this. And once I get in there, I'm like, God, let's work this thing. And it becomes the place people want to be. Right? That's how God works. And you have to, I laugh at these things, y'all, because then I know that when we're going through, it really isn't funny. But can it be so ridiculous at times? The things that people will do to try to sabotage you, to try to stop you, you know, because of what they think of you or what you're doing, or maybe what your initiative isn't their priority. And so they treat it as such. Oh, but how God turns that thing around. Aren't we grateful? So, and looking at David and Goliath and David's true story, let's first talk about courage. And the fact that courage is not the absence of fear, it's the overcoming of fear. It's refusing to let fear stop you. And so, when, as a leader, when you decide, because it's a decision that I am the one, God is showing me a problem. God is showing me not only the problem, but also a solution. I'll be the one. God, if you're looking for someone to send me. We'll do it. I, I will be the one with courage, but also with initiative. Oh, I love initiative. So often we only think leaders are the people with influence, you know, with power, knowledge. Those are all great things. Great things. Yes, those are great things for a leader to have. But what we often leave out, and one of the biggest things that I see when it comes to leadership, especially from people who don't have the title, is initiative. People who have the courage to take the initiative, meaning I'll be the first to do it. But can I be honest with you? We're not always just the first to do it. To sound like we're doing it actually sounds like we're succeeding at it. Sometimes taking the initiative is having the courage to say, I'll be the first to try it. I'll be the first to fail at it. I'll be the first to make a mistake, but knowing it's okay because someone has to start somewhere. But don't you know, also, don't be afraid of being the first to fail or to make a mistake or to try. How else will you get to succeeding? We don't know that. I mean, okay, yeah, David was alive, but we don't know that he saved every single sheep. Maybe one got wounded a little. Now he knows better how to fight those lions and bears. We don't know. But we do know he had many victories that prepared him for this battle. Just like when you look at every other position you've had, every other organization you worked in, every challenge, every situation has led up to the moment that you're facing right now. And everything you won with before, you will win with again. But also, we see David's boldness, which I like to call audacity, which is faith with an attitude. Do you have faith, y'all, with an attitude? That knowing that as long as God is for you, who can be against you? What plan that the devil has will succeed when God is for you, when you're doing his thing, when it's his business, his project, his organization. Won't. You won't. So, what are the takeaways from scripture that we read about David and Goliath? Number one, the power of faith and courage against overwhelming odds. It's knowing that regardless of what's standing before you, with God with you, is more than enough. Number two is the role of the individual initiative that influences collective outcomes. Because, woo, y'all, when they saw that David took down Goliath, you couldn't stop that army. You couldn't stop them because they said if he can do it and we're trained for battle, what can't we do? What can't we do? So let your initiative be the fire that people need, that motivation, that inspiration that your team needs to overcome their fear. And number three, embracing the identity of the one. Of the one. I am the one. Say that. I am the one. I am equipped with purpose, passion, and power to do what God has called you to do, to lead your team, to lead your organization, to lead your community. But you have to be willing to take the first step. Okay? So, what are the imperatives for leaders? Here are three imperatives. Okay? Number one, cultivate an atmosphere that rewards courage. You want to see more courage for initiative? Reward it. Tell people how you admire their courage to step out and to be the first one to try, the first one to fail, the first one to make a mistake and knowing it's okay. Number two, be willing to take the first step in uncharted territory. Yeah, be willing to take that step. Sometimes it's not you being the one, is having the ability to say that someone on your team can take the risk because they have a creative idea that hasn't been done before. That's a little risky. Okay. That's what creativity is. It's finding out what works, it's seeing what's going to happen. Maybe something cool is going to come out of this. Maybe the way you really intended to work, it didn't come out that way, but the way that it did was everything. You know? So maybe that initiative is just allowing someone else on your team to have it. And then number three, actively identify opportunities to set an example for your team. And then bring those examples back to the table in your meetings, in your trainings to say, hey, remember when we did this? Yes, it's a little scary, for us to try it, but what did we learn from this? What are the great things we learned? What are the not so great things that we learned? And how do we move forward with our next initiative, our next thing, or how do we make it better? Okay. So here's something that I want you to leave reflecting on. What challenges are you avoiding because you're waiting for someone else to take the first step? I want to stop and let you think about that for a second. Okay. Again, what challenges are you avoiding? Let's even rephrase that. What opportunities? Because that's exactly what challenges are. That's what problems are. That's what crises are, right? You flip those things, they're opportunities. What opportunities are you avoiding that you're missing out on? because you're waiting for someone else to try it, to be the first to fail, to make a mistake, or the first to succeed at it before you do. So I've really studied like the richest people in the world. And you know who the richest people are in the world are? The people who did something when it seemed crazy, ridiculous, outrageous, impossible. And they did it. And because they were the earliest adopters or innovators of it, yeah. So while you're sitting around saying, let's not try it, let's not do it, that sounds crazy, no one's doing it that way, it's never been done that way, maybe you're missing out on all of that. Think about that. Okay. You're praying for wealth, you're praying for prosperity, but you're afraid to step out. When David became king and it was still such a fight to get him on the throne, you know what people kept going back to with David? His victories in battle. Every time that he took the initiative, every time that he was the first to lead and step out, they kept going back to that moment. That's what your team is also going to keep going back to. But will they be talking about your victories, your initiatives, the times when you're courageous, or will they say, well, you know, we avoided the last couple of things, so they're not going to do anything right now either. That's how she is. That's how he is. You know, what will they say? What will they say? So, take that question with you, ponder it, pray about it. Okay. And I would love to get some of your feedback on that question. Again, what challenges or opportunities are you avoiding or missing out on because you're waiting for someone else to take the initiative? But if you see the problem and God has also shown you a solution, you are the one. So take on the identity of the one. And the one who knows that they're the one says, I am the one. I am equipped to be the one. I am empowered to be the one. I am entrusted. Entrusted. God has entrusted you to be the one. Equipped, empowered, and entrusted by God to be the one. Amen. Man, just gave me that on the spot. Man. But I love y'all. Y'all, that is the end of this episode. Join me next Tuesday for episode number 2, talking about identify the one. Identify the one. So this one was for you. But from here on out, we're talking about our team. Okay. We're talking about identifying the one next week, October 31st at noon. And then another announcement this upcoming Thursday, streaming live, I'm going to be hosting a Selah. Now, Selah is my time for prayer, for people to come together, leaders to come together, to pray about leadership, our organizations, our businesses, to really just take that hour to consecrate, to hear from God, for him to lead us in business strategy, for us to receive prophetic word. So I will be hosting Selah Live, streaming it live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook this Thursday at 8 p.m. So be sure to click on the event to get your RSVP, okay, or your notification. What to expect? You don't have to do anything. Just listen in, and I request that you find a private space, a moment to just be present in that hour, to be present. Bring prayer requests. Okay, so we will pray about those things. Bring prayers in your heart, and we're going to present them before God. Again, praying for our leadership, our businesses, our organizations, our teams, our clients. We're praying about it all. And then a couple of more announcements. I'm going to be redesigning my website. So I'm not going to republish it or update my website until I do. So some of the things I talk about or mention may not be on there, but you will find all updates on my social media. Okay. And I will be updating my website starting January 1 with new packages for executive coaching packages for individuals and organizations. Why? Because I want to emphasize building relationship. I don't want it to just be a one time here and there. I want to emphasize building relationships with organizations and your teams. And so it will enhance that. It will encourage relationship building, but also more cost value for my clients. Okay. For me to come out and do corporate executive coaching for your teams in your organization. So I'm super excited about it, and I hope you are too. Because if you haven't heard, y'all, you want Dr. Mercer to come talk to your people. Okay, we're gonna have a good time talking about leadership, the reality of leadership, and dealing with the hard issues, okay, regarding leadership. And then also, I will have a coaching special coming out soon. I'm still praying about that. But look for an update on my social media this week, okay, as to what that special will be that will run to the end of the year, okay? That's it, y'all. I love y'all. God bless you. And I look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday at noon. So grab your lunch, grab your earbuds, and we'll go at it, okay? Take care, and remember, in everything you do and with everything you have, love God and love people. Goodbye, y'all.